Now let's take a look at sharing content. So the view you're seeing right now is actually the default view when you first enter your session. And the reason I want to make sure that you understand that's the default view is because you already have what's called this pod here. And this pod is what's going to facilitate you loading content. So because I've got that there, I'm going to use it. So to load content or to choose what you want to load, I'm going to press the down arrow here and you can see the options. I can share my screen, so that's just my desktop. You know, if I've got more than one monitor, it will ask me. So let's take a look at that. So if I decide to share my screen, it'll say, hey, do you want to do a desktop? Do you want to do an application? Just a particular window? And do you want to choose one of your other monitors? So I've got two to choose from in this case. I'm not going to show this one right now because it's a little more difficult to demonstrate, but I do want to show you that sharing screens is available. So I'm going to cancel that and then click the down arrow again so you can do documents and then share a whiteboard. So let's look at document next. I'm going to press on document. Now if I've uploaded something previously, it's going to be there and available for me to choose from. Or I can choose something else. So I'm actually going to browse my computer and choose something else. I'm going to choose this Adobe Connect overview. I just created that a couple days ago. Click open and it will take a moment to do that conversion and upload. So it does warn me if I have specialized items in this one. Now I don't, but it's still again giving me a warning. I'm going to proceed and then give it a moment to do its conversion. In my experience, it's really a matter of how many pictures you have, how much content. It might take longer than other times. So just something to think about if you are pressed for time as to when you decide to do that. So once it's uploaded, it's immediately available and it is being shared with everyone in the room. So if it's in this pod, it is sharing. And you can see the stop sharing. If you don't want to share it anymore, you can click on that. But let's actually concentrate right now on navigation first, and then we'll look at some of that management. So navigating, I can simply click the next button here and arrow forward and go through the slides that way. If you want to see the different slides in the deck so that you know which ones are next, you can show the sidebar. So let's click on the Show Sidebar button, and it will show you everything that's in there. So if you've labeled those and used the titling properly, you'll be able to navigate through here and see what's in it. I like that the best because I think it's much easier to see what's going on. Then I can click through and I can tell. But if you don't want to use that, you can certainly turn it off. Others can't actually see that. That's just for you. So I'm going to turn that off, and again, you can use these arrows. I can also use the arrows on my keyboard to go forward. So I'm doing that right now, not that you can see me doing it, but I am. So I'm using the forward and back arrows on my keyboard. When I'm done with that, I can stop. Or what's something I like to do is I like to draw on them sometimes, especially if you want to, emphasize some things. So if you click on that draw button, you'll get the drawing tools. Let me find a color that's opposite, and I can simply draw on it. So it takes a little bit of practice, but it's certainly doable. If I don't want to draw, I can just turn that off. I can also use this little pointer. Now this pointer is kind of interesting. It doesn't look like it does anything, but what it does is if you click in a certain spot, it just jumps around to whatever spot you click. So it's a nice way of pointing things out, and it's very simple to use. So again, I like that one a lot. And you can simply turn it off when you're done. So to stop sharing, you can click on the Stop Sharing button, and you will stop sharing it, and now it will appear blank to your users. If I want to choose something else that was uploaded previously, I can click on the down arrow, go back to Share Document, and since I have two things, let's choose the other one that was in my list. So I'm going to click on that, click OK, and load that content as well. So this makes a big difference in being able to move between content quickly. So I can now go through my presentation. And again, when I'm done, stop sharing, and I could choose something else. So if you can imagine, at the beginning of a trimester, beginning of your section, you could load all of your content and just simply access it. Or if students are having difficulty, you can go back to a previous one and look at that too. So that makes a big difference in being able to access content quickly, especially from week to week. Now let's look at using a whiteboard. So if you have whiteboards that you've shared previously, those will be available to you. Or you can just simply just share the regular whiteboard. So I'm going to choose whiteboard and then choose whiteboard here and click OK. And now I just get a plain blank whiteboard that I can draw on if I wish. I can do that. I can write on it. Choose the size and different things, color. I can do boxes. Yeah, so play around with that and see if it makes some sense as to what you'd be able to do and how it might be helpful to you. There's a selection tool. I can select things and just delete them. So you can see it's not too hard. I can move stuff around. So if I was doing a drawing and then I wanted to move it around later and say, okay, let's move this here, I can move everything around. So it takes practice, but it has a lot of potential of being a very good tool to use. So I'm going to stop sharing on that one, and I'm going to go back and let's do another example. I'm going to pull up this PowerPoint again, but this time I want to do a slightly different approach, and I want to go into the full screen mode. And what this really does is it just changes the mode so that it's a little hard for you to see because your screen's not that big, but it's really taking my entire screen. So there's no distractions and you can actually get through the presentation, and it's a little bit easier to see things. Now the user on the other end, so participants, can actually do this too. So if they get in there and they think, oh gosh, this is taking up a lot of space, but it might be easier for them to read it, they can make it full screen and then just press escape on your keyboard to bring it back out of that mode. So that again makes it so much easier, very, very much easier. So now you can go through the presentation, still use those same tools as well. And what I like too is if you've written a script, you can use the notes section for your script and read through that or use that as an option as well. So it makes a huge difference on being able to move through that content and being able to use this. So to get out of this presentational mode completely, place your mouse in this top bar. You'll notice it kind of disappears, and roll over there. It takes a little bit of practice, and press on stop sharing, and you'll stop sharing that. So you can move through a couple different steps. The escape key allows you to not be full screen, but allows you to take up a lot of space if you want to within that environment. But to actually stop sharing, you have to place your mouse in that area. So as I said, it's a little bit tricky, but you can certainly do that with no problems. Again, you can go in and do that on your own. No one has to be in the room while you're testing that and trying it out. So this whole sharing of content idea is very, like I said, it's the kind of thing where you can choose lots of different things from the sharing area, and then you can also access the recently shared items from here. So if you have a lot of content, there's different ways of accessing it and getting to it and sharing it through these pods.